back to another episode of Gospel Love Podcast. I am Caitlin.
I'm Aramis.
I'm Coach D.
You're not going to greet the people?
Okay. I did. I said welcome. That's a greeting.
Okay. You said welcome back.
Well, that's a greeting.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Okay. What happened to hello?
All right. You can watch the other episodes and find that.
Let's get it. I'm ready.
Today we are wrapping up, attempting to wrap up.
I'll say that depends on the host.
Oh, well then we're going to wrap it up today.
The primary host.
That's
how
fine.
They ask questions and how they steer the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we'll wrap it up today then.
We're going to find out.
If that's the case. On how do I know when I'm ready to get married? When should I get married? That has been our topic for the...
Man, that's a big question. Man,
Yeah.
That's a big question. Man.
Yeah.
That's a big question. You know how important these factors are we're giving people?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yes.
a big question. Like, that's a big... How do I know when I'm ready to get married? That's a major question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a major question.
It's a question that I think every person asks, not like every single person on this earth asks themselves. That's thinking about getting married.
Like, you gotta be able to... You gotta know I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we can survey people who divorced and ask them, when you got married, did you really believe you was ready? Did you really think you was ready? And see how that survey would come out. I'm willing to bet that there'll be a higher percentile of those who say, you know, I really did. I just thought I was in love. I didn't know if I was ready to get married. I just thought I was in love. So I married him. Like, if you could answer this question, you can save people a lot of heartache, disappointment, frustration, anger, abuse, misuse, money, psychological stress, emotional disorders. You can save a whole lot of people.
You don't think people think that they were ready to get married at that time, but because of lack of knowledge and they didn't realize?
No, I'm sure.
Then they were like, oh, no, I wasn't ready to get married back then. But at that time, what do they know?
Well, I'm sure there's a portion, but I think the higher portion will think, you know what? I wasn't sure. Remember, the question is, did you know? Like, did you know?
Right.
Were you like, you know? It's like people we get now when they come on Coffee in the Morning. Well, I thought I was ready for me. We get unmarried people. Well, I thought I was
Until
ready.
I heard this.
I thought I was ready.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's like imagine right now, because we're in football season, imagine if the Buffalo Bills didn't practice until the first game against the Jets.
Well, they either know they ready and don't need to practice, or...
No, I'm not going. I'm saying imagine if they didn't practice.
Right.
Whether they knew whether they think they was ready or not. Imagine if they didn't practice one day between now and playing the New York Jets. They didn't have no meetings. They didn't talk to the coaches. They didn't throw a football. The wide receiver and the quarterback didn't throw a football to each other. Imagine if they tried to practice.
We should use that in some
What?
of our copy. You don't wait till the day of the game to
prepare for the game.
Right.
Right. Imagine that. They get blown out the gym, off the field.
Half of them probably be injured before the end of the game.
Yeah, right. No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Dehydrated.
Right. They
tired.
wouldn't even make it through the game.
Yeah.
They didn't work out. Imagine if they all sat around at the house in the backyard watching TV and then showed up on September 9th at the stadium talking about, let's go play. Imagine.
Oh, my God.
Imagine what would happen.
I'm sorry. I'm just, sometimes it seems like that's what they do, man.
You said that. You took that shot. Imagine that. Like, think about that. They didn't practice one day, they didn't do nothing. And they showed up for the game.
Right.
Man, that's what a lot of folk do. But yeah, like, that's a major question, man. You got to know that question before you do it, man. You got to know. How do I know? Well, we've been giving folks factors, and we're being coerced today to finalize it, right? To give the final 2 factors. We're being coerced today
You call it what
to
you
do
want.
it.
We don't, but go ahead.
We're talking about the first factor is identifying as a lover. The second factor is being reconciled to God. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Marriage wasn't made for just anybody. If we want to know who marriage was made for, we got to go back to the beginning. It was made for the man that was born in the image and likeness of God, not in the image and likeness of Adam. Right? Adam brought forth sons after his kind. God brought forth sons after his kind. Right? Marriage was made for the person who had a right relationship with God. In our case, in our day, we say marriage was made for the new man, not for the old man. Because the new man is reconciled to God, right? Have a connection to the source of love, right? So there's one thing to be reconciled to God. That word reconcile means to reestablish a righteous relationship with God. In other words, everything about my relationship is right with God, right? That's the legal position. Reconciliation is a legal term. We are legally reconciled to God by the blood of Christ. But then there's a connection, a communion with with love, a communion with love, a connection with love that with the source of love. And one of the major points we bring out is when you are ready to get married, you understand, you have a level of knowing that your spouse isn't your source of love. Your spouse isn't your source of how you love them. That's monumental. That's monumental. Because most folks use their wife and they position their husband or their wife, they put them in a position that only God is able to fulfill. You can't supply me with love. You can pull it out of me. You can inspire me to love. You can motivate me to love. I was just in a situation where you can motivate me to do right and do good. I was just in a situation where I knew this brother who was in a relationship, a work relationship with a supervisor, and something happened, and he didn't relay some information to the supervisor that he was supposed to relay to the supervisor. And when a third party brought this information to the supervisor was like, the guy that I'm talking about, he must not know that, or he would have told me. Mm-hmm. Then the supervisor picked up the phone and called him and was like, this is going on over there. And the dude was like, I know. And the supervisor was like, what? Well, what happened was when the guy on the phone heard the supervisor say, I just told them, ain't no way you knew this, because if you had known you, and what happened, the supervisor.
Hey, what's up, fam? Today's Winners One podcast is brought to you by our Coffee in the Morning Club. Listen, they say right now the divorce rate is anywhere between 58 and 62%, depending on the community or the culture you grew up in. But they say that rate is drastically reduced if you are a couple who finds a community of like-minded couples. We have a Coffee in the Morning Club marriage enrichment community of couples who are driven to have a faith-based marriage. This is a marriage that's based upon the principles that God ordained for marriage to be about. If you want your marriage to be drastically reduced from running into chaos, confusion, and trouble, you need to join this community. It is our Coffee in the Morning Club community that will enrich you and empower you and strengthen you to win and make marriage easy.
Demonstrated a level of trust in this person. And when the person heard the supervisor talk in that manner, it motivated them. Never violate the trust of that supervisor again. You can do things to pull out of her love and a certain respect and response. You can do things to pull out of him. The same thing. But you can't that don't make you his source of love. That makes you a instigator, an inspirator, a motivator, but not his source. We only got one source, and God is the source. When I decide that I'm going to demonstrate a love for my wife based off of how my wife functions and acts and behaves. I just made her my source. Because I looked at her and say, well, if she ain't doing this, then man, she ain't getting no love from me. No. I tell Sister Leslie all the time, listen, you ain't got nothing to do. You have nothing to do with how much love that I have for you. You got nothing to do with that. You got nothing to do with that. Now, you could hinder and affect how much of this love you play in. You know what I'm saying? How much of this love you waddle in. How much of this love you immerse yourself in. Right? How much of this love you get to feel. But even that, to a spiritual man, you don't even control that. You don't even control that to a spiritual man. Because a spiritual man fight to love. A spiritual man loves to the degree that when you're his enemy, he still loves you. A spiritual man, when you don't do everything you say you're going to do, when you stop doing things, he'll die for you anyway. A spiritual man will give his life for you. In spite of how you acting, what you doing, what you saying. He's going to love you anyway. That's a spiritual man. He's going to love you anyway. Right? So you got to be connected to the source of love, right? That was number 3. Number 4 is you got to have the right mind toward marriage. You got to know who you are in Christ. You got to know the purpose of marriage. You got to have a renewed foundation when it comes to husbandry and wifery. We talked about that. Number 4 was a functional knowledge of marriage and understand the purpose, have a definition and description. So we gave people a definition of marriage. You got to go back because, folks choking me down already.
Yeah. We got videos on all this.
Yeah, you got to go back and look at all that stuff.
Just list them off.
Number 6 was understanding oneness. And this is the ultimate goal for marriage. Describe it, determine it, and understand the outcomes of it. Number 7 was renewed mind toward husbandry. Number 8 was a renewed mind toward wifery. Number 9 was, we went over the foundation. Number 8, I'm wrong. Number 8 was the foundational communication skills of marriage, the 5 divine laws of communication, which is edifying communication, grace-filled communication, kind communication, soft communication, and comforting communication. These laws of communication are built into your identity as a lover. Which means you won't have to try to talk in an edifying way, in a comforting way, in a kind way, in a soft way, or in a grace-filled way. You don't have to try to do it. Right. It flows out of you, right? And number 9, we're talking about having a model to look at and how important that is to have something to behold. And we were talking this morning about we become by beholding. And our foundation for that comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17 and 18, verse 18, I believe it is. It says, we are with open face, beholding as in the glass, the glory of the Lord. We are changed. That word changed, the word metamorphosed. We are metamorphosed into that very same image, even as by the Spirit of God. That metamorphosis is the process of becoming in the soul. It's the process of transitioning from the old way of thinking, the old way of desiring, the old way of feeling, into the new way of thinking, the new desires, into the new way of feeling. That's the transition. That's metamorpho. We see this same word used in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, when it says be transformed. Transformed and changed is the same word, metamorpho. Transformation comes by the renewing of the mind. Metamorphosis comes by what we behold. So there's 2 ways by which we become, the renewing of the mind and the things we behold. In the spirit, hearing is seeing. They're one and the same. When you hear in the spirit, you also you instantly see, right? When you hear, you instantly see the things in the spirit, and you need something to see. You need a model. Modeling is the best way of learning in most cases. I was sharing that I didn't even realize that people were watching the way I functioned and operated as a husband as their model of what they wanted to be as a husband. Until they finally came out and said it. They used what I was modeling. We all need models. Whether you realize it or not, you're modeling some imagery of husbandry that you got from somewhere. You're modeling it. You seen it somewhere. You beheld it somewhere. Now you're behaving. What you behold will determine how you behave. Right?
Right.
I like that. I like that as the title. What you behold determines how you behave as a husband. The husbandry you behold determines the behavior of your husbandry, or how you behave. Right? Let's play with that. Right? So the ninth factor is you got to have a marriage or something to behold, so that you can behave and become. That's just God's way. Unfortunately, we behold, secular society creates this imagery of husbandry and wifery and marriage and love for us to behold every night. It's called television. It's called, that's my program. You know what they call the program?
Because it's 2023.
No, because it's programming you.
Oh.
It's programming you. It's programming you.
Yep. Whether you think so or not.
That's a television program. It's programming you.
Yep.
To think a certain way. To feel a certain way. To talk a certain way. To act a certain way.
Yep.
To have certain dispositions. To have certain expectations. To have certain attitudes.
Certain emotional responses.
Certain emotional responses.
Yeah.
It's programming you. It's programming you. Watch, what's the show? Oh man, one of the worst shows.
One of the worst shows.
Was it Married with Children? What's the show?
With Ed Bundy?
Ed Bundy. Oh my God, that's one of the worst shows on marriage you could ever watch. But it was one of the most popular shows.
For sure.
Ran for years.
Yep.
Ran for years.
I remember watching it from time to time.
Ran for years.
Everything about it was like they glorified bad family culture.
Everything about it. Everything about it.
Yeah.
Some of the worst.
Hey, what's up? Coach D here. Listen, I got something I need to say to you real quick. Listen, marriage is made for lovers. Now, once you understand that marriage is made for lovers and you're not listening to them folks that keep saying you need more than love to make marriage work, you have to identify as a lover. Once you identify as a lover, now you got to learn what love is. Guess what? We have something for you that can help you understand exactly what love is in its most comprehensive nature. It's so much more than just an emotion. But you got to get the book to find out exactly what God's intent was for love and how it functions. Thanks. Get the book. God bless.
Family-related shows were some of the most popular family-related shows. Mm-hmm.
Roseanne, The Simpsons.
Right. Roseanne, The Simpsons. What's the other one? It's an old time. Archie Bunker.
Yep.
All those shows.
I've never seen that.
You never seen that before? Like, they were some of the worst shows ever to portray family relation between a husband and a wife, mother and the children, father and the children. Mm-hmm. But they were some of the most popular shows. Mm-hmm. They shaped the way a lot of folks, the baby boomers, what was after them? The baby boomers. Whatever generation was after the baby boomers. But they
Gen Z?
Yeah, they shaped, I'm not sure. They shaped the mindset of that culture as it relates to marriage. Right? And that's what they don't have a faith-based perspective on marriage. And that's why we have what we have. Yeah. Because we had the wrong model. We had the wrong model. Yeah. Like what model, what marriages or what husband, what wife are you beholding so that you can behave in that manner? And I say this to the glory God. I didn't know the only image of husbandry that I had was my father, and it wasn't the best image. You know, he had his good and his bad, but that's not the image that shaped the husbandry that I demonstrated and we teach and we coach husbands into now.
Right.
I got mine straight. I got mine straight from the Word of God. Mm-hmm. I saw God as a husband. He revealed himself to me as a husband as I was reading my Bible, and I saw he functioned. He told Israel, "I'm thy husband." Oh, there's my framework for husbandry. How I see God loving Israel is how I'm supposed to love my wife. Then I get down to Ephesians and it says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
Jesus is my imagery of husbandry.
Yeah.
Jesus was the model husband. We might want to use that. That's a shocking title.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is the model husband. Let's see what that title get us.
Jesus is the ultimate.
He was the ultimate husband. You want to talk about husbandry at the highest level? Study Jesus and how he loved the church. That's the prototype husband.
Mm.
That's heroic. That's our heroic husband.
Right.
Right? He loved his wife the way a man is supposed to love his wife. Can't nobody love like Jesus. Says who?
You're reading the wrong book.
Who told you that?
Right. Right.
Don't you got the same love he had? Bible says the Holy Ghost shed abroad the love of God in your heart. You got the same hope he had? You got the same faith he had? You got the same spirit he had? You got the same father he had? You made in the same image and same likeness?
The problem is people don't believe all that.
Yeah. Why they don't believe it?
Because they think Jesus is up here and they way down here.
Why they don't believe it?
Because they don't hear it.
Because they don't hear it. They don't hear it.
Yeah.
You're right. What they're hearing is making them think Jesus way up here and we way down here. When he said, I'm your brother. In the Hebrew mind, for Jesus to call us his brother, made us equal with him. Made us equal with him. Now, we take that to the next level. When Jesus, if we're equal to Jesus and he called himself the Son of God, which in the Hebrew mind makes him equal with God. That's why they was ready to stone him, ready to throw rocks at him, hit upside the head. Yeah. They wanted to kill him. He said, for what miracle you gonna stone me? He said, no, it ain't for no miracle we're gonna stone you. It's because you made yourself equal with God. Well, remember when you said you was the Son of God? You made yourself equal with God. See, in the Hebrew mind, sonship is equality. Brethren is equality. And now you gonna turn around and say you can't love like he loved? He wouldn't have told you to do it. He ain't that kind of guy. He ain't schizophrenic. he ain't got mental issues, man. He told you to do something. If he told you to do something, he's already provided you with the capability and the ability and the tools to do it. Yeah. That's the God of the Bible. I don't know what there's other stuff folks talking about. There's other God, I don't know where they getting that stuff from.
Right. Yeah.
But Jesus was the model husband. He was a prototype husband.
So how do you, because one of the things that I would say more quickly brings about the establishment of the new man, right, is the immersion experience, right? So how do you create an immersion experience around beholding?
I think doesn't that kind of lead into number 10?
100%.
Yeah.
That's a great
Segue.
great segue.
I'm
Co-host.
You know,
That was your intent.
trying to do my job,
there you go. You doing right. Because folks are sitting over there.
or I'm taking the job.
Folks just sitting over there.
Yeah.
Folks sitting
No, I was actually gonna go ahead and lead into that, but he beat me to it today.
No, that leads to the factor number 10, which is having a community, a community of couples, a community of unmarried that are focused on readiness, on getting ready. It's great to have a community of couples because you have ensamples, you can get encouragement, and you can get motivation. Those are the three factors we find, three outcomes we find that being a part of our Coffee in the Morning Club community, which is why we started our Coffee in the Morning Club community.
Link in the description.
Yeah. Before we get to that part, though, I want to touch on what you said as far as immersion. What we've done, we've created a virtual immersion experience for people. We've created video series, live Zoom calls, master classes, books, audio books for wannabe husbands and wannabe wives to prepare themselves for the most important decision of their life. And when you decide that you want to get married, you take on a you take on a mandate that shouldn't be taken lightly.
Right.
And we made it as easy as we possibly know how for a person to go through, to have an immersion experience that brings them out on the other side of that immersion experience completely brand new. What most people think water baptism does for them, but it really don't, our heroic husbandry and our wondrous wifery and our marriage mastery and our What Love Is masterclass will do that for them. It'll bring them out on the other side of that immersion. It'll bring them out of that immersion experience a different being. A different being. Psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, physically. It'll bring them out a different being. Economically, it'll bring them out a different being. And, they can look into our Heroic Husbands Academy, our Wondrous Wives Academy, our, What Love Is book, audio book, workbook, and really, really experience that immersion. Everything about God begins with an immersion experience. And we quantified that immersion experience between 2.5 and 3.5 years. Between 2.5 and 3.5 years, because Jesus was with his disciples for 3.5 years. That was their immersion.
Hey, what's up, fam? I want to thank you first of all for watching our podcast. Now, secondly, I want to give you some information that is very important. I was recently talking to a couple, and as we were assessing their marital situation, they came to the conclusion that the problem that they were dealing with was because they hadn't laid the proper foundation to build the marriage that they wanted to build. I said, that's exactly right, and I have a solution for you. We put together a marriage mastery curriculum that establishes a foundation that will enable you to build the marriage you desire. We talk about things as far as your identity as a lover. We talk about how to build a culture of love. We talk about heroic husbandry. We talk about wondrous wifery. We talk about edifying communication. We talk about grace-filled communication. We cover so much in this curriculum that it's going to put you on the path to be marriage masters. Now, what I need you to do is click the link in the description. This is going to give you some more insight in just how you can enroll right now into our course. If you are newlywed, if you just engaged, if you recently married, this is a great course for you. You need to check it out. We got a great price for you. We got a payment plan that you can enroll in. So go now, click the link below and get more information. And I'll see you in our Marriage Masters University.
Immersion experience.
Right.
Paul was with the church at Ephesus for 2.5 years. That was their immersion experience. And mind you, the book of the church at Ephesus is characterized as being the most mature church of all the churches mentioned in the Bible. Right? It's the church that is referenced to as having a depth of love that no other church had. So Ephesians is the church that spent the most consecutive time with Paul. 2.5 years in the school of Tyrannus. Every day. Every day. All day. Hearing that. And it's no surprise that that's the church that receives the revelation on spiritual warfare. It's no surprise that that's the church that received the revelation on how a husband should love their spouse and how a spouse should love their husband, because they spent the most time with them. It's no surprise that that's the book that teaches us how to rest in the Lord, how to walk in the Lord, and how to stand the ground that God has given, that you've taken. And that's what the life is all about. It's no surprise, because that's the church. It's no surprise that that book, the theme of that book is the eyes of our understanding being enlightened. It's you coming into this awareness of who you are in Christ, because that's higher level conversation.
Yeah.
When it comes to your faith life. We're not, Paul talking to, there was some church, Paul said, I can't even talk to you about real stuff. Y'all still need meat. Y'all still need milk. Y'all babes. Y'all want to know. Y'all struggling about baptism and rights and y'all. I need to be talking about y'all about warfare, about who you are in Christ, about loving, about husbandry, about why, because that's what it's all about. But community and embracing that community is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
And letting go of the old community that you're used to hanging around.
That well built into an immersion experience is the releasing of old things built into it. Like you only have to worry about letting go of the old community if you embrace the new community.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to worry about running Miami Dolphins plays when I signed with the Buffalo Bills and got their playbook.
Right.
I didn't have to forget about the Dolphins play. I just learned the new plays.
Like, and I know you talked about this too. You know, when you first got saved, you know, you weren't comfortable going to the same places with your friends.
Oh, not at all.
That you were before. It's like, you know, when that change happens, the spirit pulls you away from those things that don't benefit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like if you're somewhere where you're not supposed to be, it's not gonna sit right.
Right.
If you're around people that you're not supposed to be around, it's not gonna sit right.
Right.
You know, and eventually hopefully, you know, not eventually, right away you'll listen to that, you know, that unction, that pull to get you out of there and into a community or an atmosphere where, you know, the culture is conducive to hearing what you need to hear.
Right, and I believe that really comes down to surrender. To the degree you surrender to the immersion experience will be to the degree you're able to walk away from, or those other things become obsolete to you. Like I surrendered, like, listen, I dove into this thing, man. Like some people jump in feet first, I dove in head first. Right?
Okay.
And that's the difference, right? When you want to know if you're ready for marriage, you need to immerse yourself in our preparing the unmarried for marriage curriculum. And it's just these factors. It's built around these 10 factors, right? If you want to just go back and watch the podcast. When we're giving you all this free knowledge, we're giving it to you for free. You might as well watch it now for free.
Right.
Get it
Before you can't.
Yeah, the folk gonna cut it off.
So
They ain't gonna have to, you know. And it's nothing. We shouldn't be giving. I shouldn't say we shouldn't be giving it away for free, but you should be willing to make the investment in the first place.
Right.
Right. You know. So, those are the 10 factors. Final factor was finding a community to embrace that will give you ensamples, which is real life. The word ensample, the difference between an ensample and an example is the word ensample comes from a real life experience. Examples, I can make something up. You know, I can talk to you about somebody that you don't even know, but an ensample is designed, that's something you can reach out and touch and be a part of and connect with. So the Bible uses the word ensample instead of example. The ensamples are people you can reach out and touch and see. And so you can have a real life ensample. You can be encouraged because once you hear about heroic husbandry, it can be viewed as a very daunting task. Once you hear about oneness rivalry, it can be viewed as something that's like, whoa, like really, like you know what, like the perceived likelihood of achievement a lot of times is very low, right? It takes a person a minute to say, oh, you know, you got to talk to them for a while before they realize, oh, I can be that. I can. Right. And then lastly, the motivation to pursue it, the motivation to go after it, the motivation to get up when you miss it, to get up when you say the wrong thing, to keep on going when things ain't, you know, you need that motivation. And that should come from a community of people of like-minded faith, of people of like-minded desires, of people of like-minded strength and value and virtue.
Right.
You know, and that's what it's really all about. Right. So those are the 10 factors.
Perfect. We made it through.
Yeah.
Now, even if you watched all these videos, I suggest watching them again because there's so much that we say in these podcasts, and not saying things get missed, but sometimes you hear things differently when you hear it again. And now that you know all 10 factors, I definitely recommend going back, rewatching them, and seeing if you pick up anything else.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they'll pick up. Yeah. I'm pretty sure because They say when you hear something once, you only get like 7% of it.
Yeah.
The more you listen to it, the more you pick up on it.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I listen to stuff over and over and over.
Yes.
I want to hear it.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you are clicking the links down below. Coffee in the Morning Club is there. Our free Marriage Mastery Workshop is there. Our What Love Is book, which if you haven't gotten it already, you really, really need to. And because that will help expedite the process, yes, of understanding what it is to be a lover and helping you to helping you with the question of when should I get married?
100%.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.